So we have several folks here to talk about the Migrant Youth Project in Helsinki. We're going to start out talking about some of the problems behind that project. Pia, I'd love to turn to you to start talking about that. A few stats that were brought to my attention are that 60% of Helsinki's new population is from migrants, and as of a few years ago, at least a quarter of migrants weren't in school and didn't have a job, and that was something of concern to you all. Can you tell us a bit about the context and some of the problems you were experiencing?
Yes, for introduction, I would like to give you a broader perspective to our society, I would say. We in Finland have a very long history of changing lives with education. It means that whatever your background, you have the possibility to become anything you want. We have had presidents with a very modest background. We have directors of big companies with modest background, or you could be an artist or anything you feel worth striving for. So that's what we are very proud in our society. And we have also been a very homogeneous population in Finland. So we have only had big amounts of, or not even so big amounts of immigrants for a couple of decades. And of course, we wanted to give the same opportunities also for these newcomers, as we have always given equal chances for everyone. And we started by, for instance, at schools, which I know best, we have had positive discrimination, which means that for schools which have adults with lower education or adults with less employment or a lot of immigrants, we give these schools more money. On the other hand, we value our immigrants in the way that we teach their own languages. It means that in schools of Helsinki, we teach at the moment 47 different languages. So every pupil gets 2 hours per week their own mother tongue, because we believe that in order to learn another language, you need to know your own. And we also have their own religion. So we have more than 10 religions which are taught in our schools. So that's what we have done. And in spite of this, our efforts, we noticed what you said, that not the same percentage of immigrants get to the university, to even high school. And we wanted to make that something for that. And I turn to the others because I think that's how the story started.
Yeah. Yes. Muttaqi, so you experienced some of the problems associated with this yourself. Can you tell me a bit about what sort of challenges you were experiencing as an immigrant?
Yeah, especially when you're like second generation immigrant, they call it, but I'm actually born in Finland. But you have to understand, when I am at my house or home, I don't hear Finnish, I hear Bangla, right? When I go to school, it's all about Finnish. And that creates a unique challenge, because the language, the way a Finnish kid would understand certain things, my language wasn't so developed, right? So in math, I wouldn't have any problems with 1 + 1. But when it was like, oh, Pekka is giving you 2 bananas and the other dude is giving you something, that's like, what? Like, it's hard to comprehend these things. And you can imagine I'm going back to home and asking my mom, hey, what does this actually mean? And then my mom gives an explanation of that. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I believe you, I'll just skip it. So what happens throughout the time is that I'm not in the same level with the Finnish kids, And I start to learn helplessness, and I start to believe that I don't actually understand, or there's something wrong with me, rather than there is something wrong with it's out of my hands, right? Mm-hmm. So some of the solutions that the migrant youth has produced can actually reduce these things, which in long run will decrease I believe that it will decrease those 25% of the exclusion youth.
Yeah, and we'll get to that project in a moment. One other thing I want to ask you about first is you started another related project called Muslim Youth. Can you tell us a bit about that, how you started and why you started it?
Yeah, so the Muslim community is very young in Finland. Migration overall is very, very new concept. I think around the 70s, like my dad and the first immigrants that looked more brownish than the average Finnish person would come to the... So what happened, we didn't have a lot of mosque or anything like that. And then slowly, my dad is actually an imam, so I come from a very religious family. So what happened, we started to have mosque, and suddenly the adults, they were busy kind of with their own thing. Nobody focused on the youth. So a couple of my friends were thinking like, hey, the Christian churches, they actually focus on their youth. They give different kind of activities and workshops, which help the youth to become a more active part of the society. And I believe that, if you are not on the table, you're on the menu, right? Or there's something like that saying. So we kind of, was it other way around or something?
I like it. Go with
it. So we kind of put our heads together, and then we realized that the only way to tackle this issue is to be part of the community and take ownership to that, and be Finnish Muslim, rather than saying, oh, I'm a Bengali Muslim or I'm a Somalian Muslim. So we decided that we're going to create our own identity as Finnish Muslim. So that's how Young Muslim kind of started, and we do that through different activities. And the city of Helsinki actually funds us, and they're being very nice and taking, we're part of this project through these kind of things.
Okay. Well, we referenced this project. Irma, you were one of the founders of the project. Tell us about your thinking and how you decided to design the project.
Yes, I was right in the beginning from the project, which started with Helsinki City and a foundation called We, which is fighting segregation in Finland. And it's a new foundation, and together with the foundation, the CEO, Ulla Nord, from the foundation, and our head of youth, kind of defined a problem, which is the high percentage of migrant children and youth out of education or work, as you described. And we did notice that there is a problem, there is an obvious problem, but we did also notice that it's most likely a systematic problem. It's something which cannot be solved by sitting down as experts. It has to be sorted out differently. Quite exceptional in Helsinki is like we are a country with this like very strong design background, with a kind of it's like Scandinavian design, architecture, beautiful objects, etc. And we wanted to take the design thinking also in the services. So I worked the first year in a close team with a service designer from a company called Palmo in Helsinki. And that was possible because of the cooperation with the We Foundation and Helsinki City, which is a fantastic startup, the starting point. And but that was not enough. We had 10 young co-designers from different ethnic backgrounds. We had 30 different experts from different, like police, criminal police, youth workers, attached youth workers, teachers, etc., representatives from different migrant NGOs. And then we had a really wide advisory board. And together with these group, we had hackathons and it's like workshops. We tried to find the best solutions with the best customer value and with kind of best implementation, so that they would not be something that the project runs, but something which will live on in the Helsinki structure. and like kind of testing and rapid evaluation. And if somebody would ask me, it's a 5-year project, we have funding from the WE Foundation. If somebody would ask me that are these pilots ready, are these programs ready? No, we are just making them better all the time. It's like still kind of evaluating would this work. And without the citizen engagement in Helsinki is very, very strong. Like Muttaqi is not getting paid from the project. He's a Helsinki citizen with us. Kind of, it's like giving the citizen point of view to the project, which is kind of, it's like, which was crucial and in a kind of core of this planning process.
Yeah, so one of the things you're describing is that a key component of how you design this is having a feedback loop and participation from members of the community, which Muttaqi you've been a part of as well. So let's talk about one of the programs that you've been involved in. So there's the Peer Buddy program.
Buddy School.
Buddy School. Tell me about your participation and what you've gotten out of that.
I'm not actually in that program. I mean, some of the other programs that we can talk about later on. But I think the Buddy School is like an example of a really good solution for any communities. And you can implement this anywhere in the world. And the reason why this program is so close to my heart is because I can see that I could have been the kid who could get a mentorship from an elder migrant background youth teaching me. It would be so cool. It would mean so much to me because not only I could get my homeworks done on right time, I would actually get positive vibe and be optimistic and look at this elder kid like, wow, I want to be like him. I want to be the cool guy who's teaching the other people. And the mentor, the one who's teaching, imagine like these mentors are not so good in their own studies because of various reasons. So what happens, they go back to the fundamentals, they learn what the first grader is learning, and then they have to express that knowledge. So they are double, like it's like a prep for them as well. So it's like a double benefit for both parties, right? Mm-hmm. And then they can get better results. So that's why it's like, when I heard about this, I was like, wow, it's amazing. And my younger sister is one of the mentors.
Mm. Okay, so you know a little bit firsthand.
Yeah, through various channels.
Okay, and you're also what I was calling an ambassador. You're part of another program in which you speak as an advocate for your community. Can you talk about your participation in that program as well?
Yes, it's called Make Some Noise. Basically, 15 youth, I'm one of the youngsters in there. We get different kind of trainings that helps us as individuals to talk about our issues in front of the press. So we get trainings for vocal tonality, how to be charismatic speaker, how to learn storytelling, and we get different kind of panels where we get to actually exercise these kind of things. So what happens, we have to then look at the broader picture. So personally, I'm getting really good training, and hopefully the money is spent well. And then there is the other thing that happens when the second generation immigrant sees someone that looks like him and has similar kind of background and is talking. I remember this incident. I went to my primary school, and they actually, like in Finland, every week there is like a aamunavaus. What's that in English?
Opening
like
of
a
the day.
congregation where you might have people from the church or various places talk about life overall. So you just go there and reflect on some very interesting stories and get some morals. So they invited me to talk about Eid al-Adha, the second Eid, not the Ramadan one, the other one. So I went there and I gave them a little story about Eid and what it really means and what is the Abrahamic sacrifice all about. And after the whole thing, I remember like there were so many second generation immigrant kids. They came to me and they were like, oh, you know, I'm from here, I'm from there. And the smile on their face, because they're used to seeing white people like Finnish talking about things. So, you know, they were so excited, and that smile and that thing really meant a lot to me. And I was like, wow, I can actually make a difference, you know, if I just get the platform and know how to talk about my issues in a very effective way. So thank you for providing this kind of opportunity.
I think we can all see that you've been trained well. You're using your skills
I hope so.
here today.
Thanks.
So
Yeah, maybe a natural
something's worked out
talent.
here. One of the things you pointed out is that you're 26, and I thought it was interesting as an American that in Helsinki you consider youth up to age 29 and have special laws that apply to that population. Can you explain that? I think for us, we think of youth as being a smaller category.
Helsinki, not Helsinki, it's of course a national law. It's like Finland is maybe one of the countries in the world, I don't know if it's the sole country or it's like if there's who has a youth law. And in the youth law, for example, youth participation is part of this, like it's written in the law that matters concerning young people is like anything what happens is like the youth have to be heard. And you cannot think about a matter which wouldn't concern a young person. When you build a house, when you do anything, it's the whole infrastructure. It's not education or hobbies. It's absolutely everything which is concerning people is concerning also young people. And young people are regarded as like in Finland from 7 to 29. And which actually might sound, and especially in some communities, it's like 29-year-old young people is like might have families and have families, so it might be quite an old age. But we don't give the same services to the kind of 7-year-olds to the 29-year-olds, which is of course obvious. Kind of with the migrant youth Helsinki, we've been concentrated is like from the 15 to 23, since maybe the people having at the age of 29 is like if you're still out of work and is still out of education, further education, there is other issues, maybe some mental issues, etc., which have to be worked on.
So Irma, going back to the design of the program, tell me about how you've used technology as an element of it.
Oh yeah, it's been kind of quite crucial. It's like digital tools for us. We have one pilot which is called Jobs, which is as a migrant young person in Finland. It's like Muttaqi could tell more, but it's like I just put it shortly. It's quite if you're applying for a job and there is 100 applications, and if your name is very complicated, it might be that they take the Finnish person to the interview. It's like little details like this function effect. And we started, it's like right from the beginning, there was a Finnish startup which is also started by young people, which is called Trima, not Dreamer, but Trima with a T. And it's functioning a bit like Uber or Lyft, so it's like it's connecting the workforce and the employer, but in the Finnish diligent way, of course, paying all the taxes and reporting to the tax offices and paying all the social benefits for the and pension money for the young person. And with a combination of this Trima app, we've been able to kind of tackle big problems in the society, like the loneliness of elderly people, the loneliness of Finnish war veterans, combining that with the unemployment of young people. Bingo! You put these together and you solve a problem. And this has been possible with the help of this digital app. The digital app is very, very. We've given the kind of password to book hours to very many different migrant communities, the people we trust. So they get the young people who are needing work, and it's like we employing thousands. And simultaneously, it's like kind of young people get really, really quick their payments. So it's really rewarding. It's not something that you have to wait like 1.5 months that you finally get the kind of Helsinki City Municipality papers. But it's encouraging the young people. It's not creating a gig economy, a kind of third economy. It's feeding the young people to the first work experiences.
And there's one other, sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, and the whole experience thing, think about, it's all about believing yourself. Can you actually do it? You know, there is a saying that I can't do it, or I can do it, or I can't do it. Both are true. It's just which one you choose to kind of believe. So these youngsters, when they apply for jobs and they're not getting jobs, you know, day after day, they're just, you know, sorry, we choose someone else, and so on and so forth. It's hard for them to actually believe in themselves and, you know, and go further in their life. So this application and the whole job program increases their morale, increases their self-esteem, which helps them to get into further education or better jobs.
Thank you for making that point. I was going to ask about. So there's one other, Pia, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that fighting against segregation calls for very many different types of measures, which we only present here a couple of. It starts, for instance, with urban planning. You can't have all the immigrants or all the low-income people living in the same areas, because I don't know if you know, but all the schools are in Finland free of charge, and we want everyone to pick up the nearest, or almost everyone. So we want to have diversification in the diversity in the schools, so that I think one of the most valuable things that you can learn at school is how to cope with different kinds of people, and that's the experience we want to give to everyone. And so it's multiple measures we have to take to combat segregations.
Yeah, really important point. So there's many remedies that you haven't yet gotten to, and that was one of the points you made to me, Irma, backstage, is that this is a process. You've designed a process rather than come up with the solutions thus far. Just want to note that I will ask one more question here before opening it up to you all, so please prepare your questions. And back to you all, I want to ask you, Muttaqi, but Pia, you can jump in as well. To that end, the process being one of engaging youth and that being the end, in addition to just the means, what has surprised you most about the things you've learned through that process?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I was like somewhere else.
What surprised you most about what you've learned from going through this process of engaging with others?
I think the whole thing that, you know, we feel that we're in good hands. You know, we feel that we can actually make a mistake and there is still a chance. So it creates this optimism inside of you. It wakes this whole idea of optimism inside of you. And we feel like the elders, and they believe in us, you know. We matter. We can actually do something about our situation. You know, having the Helsinki City fund us, you know, our NGO, and help us to get into places. So they are not there to get us, they're there to support us. And we can support each other and benefit more with helping each other. So I think it's amazing, and I think it's something that a lot of the society could learn from, because most of the places we see, you know, the elders, they kind of tell us what the young people should do. Why not trust the young people and let them decide what they want to do? So they will do the best work, they'll put the best effort in there.
Maybe for me the best thing is like what I've learned from this is that we are a team of 3 people. Nuclear team is like working, actually getting paid from the program, but we just absolutely couldn't do any of this without working with other people, working with the communities, working with the other citizens, and it's like just kind of giving the platform, solving the problems together, and that is something it's like which I'll never work any other way again.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yes.
Questions from the audience? All right, while we're waiting, I've got one. So there's another component of the program we didn't get to. I think maybe a question's coming up, but we'll address this quickly. And I know you're not involved in this, Muttaqi, but you spoke about it effectively because your own parents have experienced this. So there's a parenting element to this program as well. How does that work, and what do you think parents are getting out of it? Like, for example, how would your own family have benefited from this?
I mean, the thing about immigrants is that we come from various places of the world, and our parents, the education level and the kind of a job they are in, it varies. So some of the communities are doing better than others just because they have better education. Some of the parents, they don't even know how to read or write, right? So imagine these parents, when their kid is asking them, I want to be a police officer, or I want to be a doctor, what should I study, or what kind of a guidance that can they get to guide their kids. And there are like certain niche that they want their kids to go into, like doctors and engineers, because they seems to be back home they are the respected works and you get most money out of that. But in Finland it's not like that. I think most of the socio-economical status between the jobs is not that high. I mean, obviously the doctors get well paid, but there are other jobs which are respectable. And I think in Finland we have this very humble culture that we respect work overall. So, some of the migrant youth might say to their parents that I want to be a farmer. And like in Bengali culture, like my dad would call me a farmer if I did something stupid. Like, you farmer, I'll take you back to the village or something like that. But in Finland, like farmers are pretty rich because they own lands, right? And that's a very prestigious thing to do and very, a good thing to do. So this program is basically we're taking some of the influential people from the community, like imams or community leaders, teaching them about mental health, drugs, and different opportunities that the youth could actually benefit from. Because these parents, they don't know any better. And what better way to teach them than from the community rather than, like a police telling you what to do and, oh, this is how you apply. The much better way is to take the key individuals, teach them the knowledge and give them the training, and then they know how to speak to their community, which way, or, you understand what I mean? Yeah,
so some knowledge about Helsinki culture is communicated by key community figures to parents, like imams, other parents, and they become the ambassadors.
Mothers are very important.
Mothers, okay, great. Was there a question? Yes.
Hi, could you say a little bit more about the Helsinki youth law, about how that came about and what type of participation that's created for youths, and also what types of issues do they participate on? Is it policy issues or service issues or other types of things?
Yeah, it's not Helsinki youth law, it's Finland youth law. Since it's a law. It has created quite a lot around Finland, but it's like I can mostly speak about Helsinki. For example, youth initiatives, the city council has to give answers to them, and there is a youth council. It's like consisting. It's like the other young people. It's like the young people who are under 18. It's like they vote for them, and They are getting they are treated very seriously, these young people's initiatives. And it's not my expertise this area, but it's like I'm happy to, it's like if you're more interested in this, it's like I'm happy to give you some contact information. It's like so you could maybe be up.
Yeah. Well, I could say, because for instance, me, I see those members of the youth council constantly. So if they have anything to ask for, I meet them, and they come to the city council meetings twice a year at least.
Yeah, and they have low access to the kind of mayors of Helsinki and to the decision makers, and so they are taken very seriously and heard.
They're treated like adults.
Exactly. That's
Or respectable human beings.
Yeah.
As we all are.
Great. I think there's, I see another hand raised. Okay, we're taking one more question here.
Could you speak a little bit more about some of the resources that you give to the adult program? Are there any educational things to help them, like English as a second language classes, or going back to school? Do you think that the program could maybe expand to that in its 2.0 version, or how does that look now?
When we decided, when we were designing the process, one kind of core question, one kind of root question was that young people often mention that if our parents just knew, if our parents could have the solution. And the things they want, the kind of is like a subject came is like education, professions, what Muttaqi well talked about, and abuse and mental issues. And as Muttaqi explained, it's like we are buying the services from different migrant NGOs or migrant companies. They are taking care of the training, and they are training the ambassadors in these 4 subjects. Yes, we could expand to anything, but it's like to get things done and to get kind of very impactful things, we have to also focus. There is need for a lot of things, but we've been focusing on these. But it's like we see issues, for example, the migrant mothers who stay a long time home. It's like that could be something we would love to solve, but it's like we so far concentrating on these.
But we actually have, simultaneously as the kids go to school or kindergarten, we have also Finnish language lessons for the mothers, so we want them to know the language
program.
Yes.
Great.
But not in this project, but it's like,
But the Migrant Youth Program is focused on youth. Great. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all very much for your insight.